So I'm Kate Baillon, and I'm the director of Cape Fear Museum. And you will recognize our building there on Market Street. And then this is our new building downtown, which is adjoining the library, which is open. The museum is not yet open. The museum will open at the end of July, with our official ribbon cutting happening in mid-August. So we are keeping both campuses. So spoiler alert right there, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So we've been around since 1898, founded by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. So we were a reliquary to begin with. And then in the 1960s, we became part of the county, and then had more of a wider community focus. And so collecting anything within like a 50-mile radius of New Hanover County, and anything that was used or made in the area. So these are the things that have guided us in developing our new exhibits, because all of the exhibits in the new building are going to be brand new. So you cannot just pick up the old exhibits and move them over. Everything is built purposely for the space that it goes into. And plus, although the history doesn't change, the interpretation of it does, and also the techniques used to display things. So this is the block downtown, which you may be familiar with. The green building is where the old library is, and this is going to be a new private development. I'm not entirely sure what yet. Then we've got the parking deck, and then the building with the wing on the end of it is the new museum and library, and the area where the little wing extends over is the museum. So the library is on the, I don't know what you'd say that is. Is that northwestish? Northwestish. And then the museum is on the other side. The library is on 2 floors, and the museum is on 3. So we share the first floor, about half and half. The second floor, the library has the majority of the space, and we have the whole 3rd floor. So this area up here, these are all, probably I do need my laser pointer, but never mind. The wing area is actually a whole solar panel array, and so it's helping to generate power for the building. Unfortunately, it's also shading our garden area, which is out there on the deck. So we had to come up with some ways around that. But this is some sort of idea as to what the difference is from the old museum to the new museum. And so you can see it is a substantial increase for us. Basically, we are almost doubling our exhibit space, and our science offerings are going to be so much larger. So for a long time, we've been a history and science museum that mainly has history exhibits and science programs, and now it's going to be much more equal. So this sort of gives you an idea as you come into the museum. Down here is the parking deck. And these were meant to be little the jelly beans are meant to be sloth footprints, but they are not in the concrete. But that's how you would walk to get into the 230 Gray Street building. But as you enter, if you look to your left, the little blue horseshoe is our front desk. And right now, where the red dotted line is, there's a temporary wall that shows you some images of what's coming in the new space. But that will come down, and there'll be a new glass storefront, and you'll enter the museum. The blue area is our new Cape Fear stories. So this will take you from prehistory up until 1898, and then you'll go upstairs for the 20th century. The egg in the middle is a planetarium. It is a 60-seat planetarium. So here it is. And this is like our one finished gem at the moment in the space. It is ready to go. We're just waiting for everything else to be done around it. But the dome is hung. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So we will have, and we've just hired our new planetarium supervisor. So we'll be doing live star shows, and then also have films as well. So it'll be a good mix of different material in there. Cape Fear Stories is our main history and science exhibit, or our main history exhibit. We have actually re-looked at how we're doing it as a history and science museum. We want to weave those stories together. So talking about how the people have changed the land here and how the land has changed the people, or how people have adapted to the land. So as we were going through, we worked with different communities of people to make sure that we were telling stories accurately, and sort of bringing in different stories than are told in our previous museum. And so this is down on level 1. We have geology and the fossil record. That is where the sloth will be. The sloth has been packed up. I wanted him to come down all in one piece, down Market Street, but no, he's been packed up in several pieces and now he's moved over. And probably in the next 6-8 weeks is when we're going to start installing him in the big picture window that's there on the corner of the building. So this just gives you a little outline of where things are going to be on that ground floor. We call these long rectangles blades, and on the blades have graphic story panels on them, but they also have objects. So we're actually able to show a lot more objects in the gallery than we have been able to in our previous institution, but also we're able to tie the stories, we've been tying the stories more purposefully to different people, because that's really how people want to learn the history, is seeing how these things were used in areas. The little theatre down here where you see the little with all the people here, we're having a film made about 1898 and how, you know, how the events took place. We also have a story map that our historian has created, and I believe that's also been used by PBS for their film, so that's on their website. But we'll be creating a film there too. So this just gives you a little bit more of an idea. You can see how it comes together through the different phases, from architecture to concept, and now this was part of our design development. This funny looking case right here is our recent acquisitions case. So as people donate things to the museum, it can be years before things go on display. And so this is giving us a way to be able to showcase some of the things that are coming into the museum quickly, so people get to see their things on display, but also just so people can see the breadth of what we collect. And you can see the sloth there in the window too. So there's a nice little platform halfway up the stairs where you'll be nose to nose with the sloth. So this gives you a little idea of how the panels look. This section here is about native peoples, and we worked with the Waccamaw-Siouan tribe. We had a program that ran for many decades called People of the Past, and we looked at the archaeological record of native peoples and looked at some of the different archaeological finds. But the Waccamaw people are still here today, and so we worked with them to be able to tell their story more in a present sense as well, and sort of looking at what these historical artifacts mean, and then how they've also used those now to bring their traditions into the present. So we've got some fantastic beadwork and drums, and some of their storytelling as well. They'll be telling stories in the space too. So you can see it's a lot more vibrant. If you know the previous Cape Fear Museum, we have a wall for the Civil War. It's a wall of swords and models. This is a much smaller representation, but we're actually able to draw some of the stories out. So on that wall of swords, there was one sword that had now I'm going to forget all of my words, but on the hilt, or it's probably not the right word, but it used to say US. And the soldier, Whiteley, ended up changing sides and joining the Confederate side, so he changed that to CS. But that was a story that got lost in that wall of swords. That story got lost, and so this is a way for us to be able to bring those stories out, and so people can make different and new connections with objects that we have in our collection. This here is the Lumina disco ball. It's not really a disco ball, it's actually a speaker, but it's got little mirrors on it. It looks like a disco ball and it did spin, but it was actually a speaker. So that will be on display, and we'll talk about the electrification of Wilmington and what that meant with the trolleys going out. So So this will be a really sort of vibrant space, and there's a lot of hands-on activities. You then go up the stairs, and you can see here there's 2,400 square foot. This is the 20th century for Cape Fear Stories. Port City Play, bless you. Port City Play is the gallery for our youngest visitors, so from a few months up until about 8 years old, although I can say I think a lot of adults and older kids are going to want to play in there too. And then collection selection. If you've been to our previous museum, you'll know that on the second floor we have a case up there called collection selection, which just allows us to bring out different themes of objects in our collection. And we have a much more versatile case here, so we'll be able to show a wider array of objects in that case. So upstairs on the second floor, these are the items that will be in the gallery. As you come up the stairs, right opposite you will be the sports and athletes case. So we have recently just acquired the Greater Wilmington Sports Hall of Fame collection, which we've been the repository for many years now, looking after those items. But now they are in our collection, and so they can go on display. Of course, Michael Jordan will be featured there too, as well as Althea Gibson. And then we sort of go into some of the artists, and there'll be a really fun hands-on interactive area there where you can paint in the style, digitally paint in the style of different artists from the area, including Minnie Evans. It'll be really, really fun. And then, of course, we've got our Simmons Sea Skiff. It is not the one that you're used to seeing on display. The one that we have on display was actually not used in our waterways. So it was built here, but it wasn't used here. We acquired another Simmons Sea Skiff about 3 years ago from Georgia that was originally used on the waterways here in Wilmington. And so that's the one that will be on display there. It just has come back from a mount maker in Virginia. So that's another side of museum, doing this whole new museum thing is getting new mounts made. So we had to send the boat away to get a mount made for it so that it looks like it is on the waterway and it's held securely. So this is what this will look like. We will have our soapbox derby car on display. I don't know that anyone's ever really seen that before. I don't think it's been on display previously, but it is a fantastic object. And then we also have up on the other end here, the lozenge shape is a wicker body basket that was used in one of the funeral homes here in Wilmington. We also have a large film area. And we'll be, I think when we open, we'll have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we have the blue velvet, yes, we have the robe, so that will be on display too. So this gives you an idea a little bit about this. So we'll talk about the Atlantic coastline, how transportation changed, and leisure, and also the world wars will be there. What you see here is, I believe it's from, and I haven't seen it, but One Tree Hill. I think it's the gym doors from One Tree Hill. So you can see here from the sports case as well. And that's one of Ben Bourgeois' surfboards, baseball, basketball from Meadowlark Lemon. Trying to think. I think it's Althea Gibson's tennis racket, and also the one of the gosh, now I can't think of what it's called, but the big silver bowl is trophy. That's the word I'm looking for. There we go. And we talk about the Wilmington 10, and we have a short film that we're also creating around that as well. This is on the film side of things, so you can see that there's a wide array of things that are represented in there. On here, this is Drew Barrymore. It's the wax model. Firestarter, that's correct. And this was the prop that had the dart blown into the back of the neck. And I will say that those, when they are not on display, are really, the way they are stored, it's really fun. So they are in these archival boxes with a window cut in the front with archival, like cellophane. So you can see they are looking out of the boxes at you on the shelves. It's really, it's fun. It's very fun. What you can see here on the ends of these blades, these are like teardrop shapes. These are things that where we're talking about climate change and some of the things, the changes that are going on in our environment around us. So we've tried to sort of bring things in all throughout the galleries. So we've sort of worked to bring different threads of. You can follow a thread through the gallery. So you can follow an environmental thread, you can follow a democracy thread, economy. There are different threads that you can pull throughout the whole gallery. This is Port City Play. What you're seeing on the bottom left is our sort of dock for stroller parking. This is the welcome wall as you go in. And the idea of this is that it is a gallery that will appeal to our younger visitors, but it is based on the Cape Fear stories and some of the other concepts that they're introduced to in the other galleries, but really for the much younger set. So it has been laid out like this. So we have a lucky climber. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. You'll see that in a minute. But we really wanted everything to tie back to this area throughout the museum. We didn't want any just plug and play exhibits. We wanted things that really spoke to being here in Wilmington, in the New Hanover County area. So we talk about cypress swamps. The baby swamp is very fun. It's a soft play area that has a peek through into the cypress tunnel, which goes under the stairs, and that's where you can sort of encounter some of the wildlife. And the slightly older kids will be able to do puppet shows for the parents or for the babies in the baby swamp. There's a historic sailing ship where you learn about how it's different from now. So that you have a ship's wheel, you can see some of the cargo that they would have carried. There's a fishing table, which is that same interactive that you'd be used to with like a magnet fishing rod, but the species that you're catching are species that you'd find here, and then it's a matching game. The transportation table is based on downtown Wilmington from the turn of the century of 1800s, 1900s, because that was when there's the most forms of transportation. And then Thalian Hall, sort of a mini Thalian Hall with movable curtains, so they can, so it'll be very fun. This is what it will look like. The lucky climber, they look like Pringle chips. It is a 2-story climber. There is netting on the outside, so you don't just climb up those. You cannot fall out. The furthest that you can fall is about 18 inches. It is designed mainly for the children. I will say I have been up it. Being able only to fall 18 inches means you have to contort your body within those 18 inches to get up the top. But an adult does need to be able to get up there so that they can rescue kids who otherwise find that they might not be able to get down. But it's very fun. It is very fun. And each one of those Pringle chips can hold several hundred pounds. So it can, like multiple children can be on one. So, but this gives you a little idea of what it's going to look like. The climber is in place at the moment in the museum. And it lights up different colors. So we can choose whatever colors that we want, and it will move. So you can make it move. You can make it look like dappled light and fall. We've had some fun sort of figuring out how to program it. And then the theatre is going to be a lot of fun too. There'll be a Foley interactive area, so they can sort of make some of the sounds that, there's just a whole lot of different things that really sort of tie back to this area. On the ship, there is a fun little Easter egg surprise. If they line up on the bowsprit, they line up the different blocks in a certain way, a seagull will pop out of the crow's nest on top. So it's been very, very fun sort of working with the designers, sort of saying what we wanted to happen and then figuring out ways together to make it happen. So this gives you more of an idea overhead of what it's going to look like. The carpet is very, very fun in there. It's meant to look like the red brick of downtown, sand, and the river. Yeah. So then we go up to the 3rd floor, and as you come up the stairs, you come into Science Matters, which is our hands-on science gallery. So science, technology, engineering, math, and everything is related back to what you can see and experience here in the Cape Fear. Outside is Curious Nature, which is our sort of sustainability gallery, so talking about the local ecology and then ways that you can be involved in order to be a part of keeping our surroundings as best as we can. And then a 5,000 square foot changing gallery. So that will be places where we can bring in exhibits from other areas in the country, or sometimes we've brought things in from Canada, for different topic areas, but we can also split it up into 3 areas, and we can do smaller exhibits. We also develop a lot of our own exhibits in-house as well. So I don't know if any of you came to the museum and saw either our film exhibit or fire. Those are exhibits that we've created in-house. We have 2 classrooms upstairs. We're actually tripling our education spaces. So we have 2 classrooms upstairs, and we have another classroom actually downstairs on the lobby level, which I don't think was shown in that first slide. But we have 1 classroom at the Market Street space, and then we teach in all the other areas, within galleries, in the lobby, on the floor, in a couple of areas on the floor in there. So in this space, we have purposely designed areas within the galleries for gathering of students, but we also have 3 times the education classrooms as well. So this is our Science Matters gallery. You'll see some of these names come up. We have secured sponsorships from various people. So Encino came on early to sponsor the planetarium, and then Novant Health and Corning, and we received an IMLS grant as well to help with Science Matters. So in this gallery, we worked a lot with different individuals or different companies to sort of figure out whether the science we were talking about, whether we were telling the story correctly, and make sure that we had aspects in there that made sense. So we worked with UNC for the remote operated vehicle for the underwater archaeology group uses that, and with a professor at UNCW as well for our surfing interactive. You get to design a surfboards and see what works best on the here with the currents and the wave patterns here in Wilmington. We worked with Duke and GE Vernova for our nuclear section, and with Corning we have a fiber optic piece that we're talking about, because we produce all of the fiber optic cable that's needed in the world. Really? Here in Wilmington. Really? Yes. And it's pretty amazing. And so we worked with them on our Properties of Light section as well. If you came to the Cape Fear Museum on Market Street right before we closed, we had built in our space place, a light interactive where you could bounce light using and sort of filter light using different pieces on a wall in a dark gallery. We have recreated that in this space, but it's more about communicating, because now they're going to be communicating using light in space. So it's been really fun sort of working with all these different companies and making sure that what we're telling is the true stories, and we're making it more accessible for people. Novant Health was interested because we're talking about how people can get involved. If this is an area that they're interested in, what's the career pathway? So we have an area where we talk about different career pathways. We also worked with the recycling center, with the landfill and recycling. We've got a recycling interactive. So we talk about how, and that brings together all of these things like the magnetism, air, things like that, ways to sort the recycling. So this gives you an idea of what it will look like. It's going to be very, very interactive. What you're seeing here is a bridge building interactive. We have several different types of bridges here in Wilmington, and each one is built because of a specific the way the river is, or the way the soil is, you know, different needs. So it's sort of talking a little bit about, you know, building bridges and how and why you might do different types of bridges. I really think that the surfboard is going to be very, very popular. We had the surfboards that you see here in the picture. We've actually had local shapers build us some surfboards specifically for the exhibit. We're redesigning all of our field trips. At our old museum, schools used to book field trips and they would come for a program and they wouldn't necessarily get to see the space. The way that we are doing it now is all schools within New Hanover County, so not just New Hanover County schools, but all schools within New Hanover County have free admission to the museum, and then they can book a program on top of that. And then a program would be, you know, if something that dives deeper into one of the concepts within the galleries, or it may be the planetarium. So then we go outside, and this is Curious Nature. So this is an area where we also want people to be able to relax a little bit too. So there's seating areas, there's planting areas. We worked a lot with the cooperative extension. Thank you, Lloyd, and Gabriella now, and sort of helping us sort of figure out what would be suitable and what would grow underneath the solar panels. And we lobbied hard to get an irrigation system put in place. So we do now have an irrigation system too. But sort of looking at the different kinds of ecological features that we have in our area. So we have dunes, and we have the river, and you know, ghost forests as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is how it will sort of be laid out. The plantings are much more exciting than what they have shown here. But it's going to be great. The funny little Z-shaped thing that you see in the middle of that top left image is actually a water table. Oh. So on that water, which we worked with Boss to develop, at that water table you'll meet different creatures that we have here. So there's a blue crab, a pelican, and various, what are they called? No, not scallops, but like scallops. No, not oysters, but they open and they squirt. Clam. That's it. Thank you. I'm not doing well with my words. But yeah, so you can sort of you sort of look at the you can turn gears on the table and you end up filling the pelican's beak, and then he tips. The crab will squirt water, and so you're learning about laminar flow, and then the little clams also squirt water. There's a buoyancy tank, so you can see buoyancy and fill the tank up and see what floats and what sinks. Also learning about currents and erosion as well.
Oysters?
And so I think oysters are featured in, they talk about
Showing
it.
how they're cleaning.
Yes, yes. And then we also have different ways, so people will learn not only about the different creatures that we have in our area, we also talk about different ways that people can be involved. So there are several different organizations that we feature, and Cape Fear River Watch is one of them. There will also be photography in, I should have mentioned, on in Cape Fear Stories, you may recognize some of the imagery. So Alan Craddock shared some images with us, so that we were able to use those within the gallery too. So this will be our first changing exhibit in our big changing gallery. It'll be Amazing Pollinators. It's bilingual. The idea is that you can choose what kind of pollinator you'll be, and then you can see whether you make it through, how you feed, who's after you, who you're hunting, and if you make it. But it should be very fun. It's kind of like a maze that you find your way through, and you know, investigating these different creatures as you go through. And then you can do it again as a different pollinator and see if you have better luck or worse luck. But yeah, the Market Street location will continue to be staffed. We have half of our staff over there. So our exhibit design coordinator, fabricator, historian, science content developer, and all of our collection staff will be based at that museum. And we are looking to bring the collection out of the basement. We have about 58,000 objects in our collection, and they are all in the basement. If they're not on display, they're in the basement, and that's not the best place for them to be in a hurricane zone. So we've developed some great ways to mitigate issues, but it's still a risk that we'd really rather not have. And so we're looking to bring all of those items out of the basement and have them on the first and second floors. Our fabrication shop that we have over there is fantastic, but it's able to produce for our much smaller area at Market Street. It is not at a size that would be able to manage to develop exhibits and repairs and everything for the larger gallery spaces. So we will be upgrading our fabrication shop. We have just got a CNC machine as well, so I am so thrilled about that. A CNC machine, so it just makes it so much easier to be able to do work. We often send things out that we need to have multiple copies of something made. It's a very fancy table saw, maybe. It's a computer programmed. So, but it's going to be fantastic to have that. The outdoor park is going to be still maintained so that people can enjoy that space. The idea is that it's not a groomed, manicured park in the sense of other, other parks. This is more of a natural area, and you can learn about some of the native species that we have here too. So this is where we are at. You can see that we are in the moving to Grey Street, which is a very short area, but there is so much going on. We've had 4 tractor-trailer loads of exhibit components delivered in the last week. And there's a crew from the fabricators who's working there basically non-stop for the next 4 months. They're sending different groups of people down so that they can work through most of the weekends and everything too. But we are looking at opening at the end of July. It's probably going to be a soft opening. So what that means is we will start to welcome people in to come and play, and we will see just how our processes are working, how exhibits are holding up, and being able to troubleshoot so early on before we actually have our grand opening. With this new museum, and that's right, we also have our summer soiree, so we'll start selling tickets soon for that, which will be a big fancy event, August the 22nd, I believe. So. But with this much larger space and much more hands-on, I've got a second one of those, okay. We're going to have a much more increased need for volunteers. So we've often had volunteers come in and help us with programs, but we're going to need people to help us in the galleries too. So there are opportunities for people to be involved in different ways, and we're looking at doing 3-hour shifts for the galleries. Opportunities to engage with visitors as well. It should be a lot of fun. But we're going to have some open houses coming up. And I did bring some flyers here if anyone wants to take one of these and then reach out to us. We would love to have you volunteer. But that's it. And I'm ready to answer any questions if you would like. Yeah.
Are you going to go into the history of the railroad and
Yes.
the naval stores?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.